This is a very serious and important subject matter. We've been going over this for a long time, over a lot of years. And some of the videos from way in the back, like we're talking way back, probably between the 2011 and 2014 era, covered a lot of really invaluable, priceless research that brought truth to light. We tend to blame the legal system a little bit too much, and if you're in the world as we know that was offered to Jesus by Satan, those kingdoms, these are Satan's kingdoms. Don't kid yourself. These guys are occultists that run it, and they're working under him, and that's why there's a whole team of devil's advocates who actually represent these legal governments. So I think you just have to see it as it is. As I said before in the video, people would say, well, the government's corrupt, and I say, well, it's run by man, and man is in sin, and his body goes to the ground based on the condemnation that went to Adam, but we know there's relief coming in the future to bring us back to what Adam once had in the Garden of Eden with a perfect body before sin happened. So when people say man is corrupt, I say, well, of course, he goes to the ground, he corrupts. That's like calling a pine tree a pine tree. It's a ridiculous statement. It's like making something sound out of the ordinary. Of course you'd expect man's government to be corrupt. I would expect nothing otherwise. So when we're dealing with the subject matter, whose signature is on the birth certificate, this is very important because your signature is not on there. And you can write to this government agency and they'll tell you, you can't sign your birth certificate. It has no meaning. In fact, you'll be voiding it by doing that if it's supposed to remain intact, because you don't have signing authority over what this is. This is their paper. It's not printed by you. In fact, they even have copyright infringements at printing places that used to just color photocopy things. If you're color photocopying it, maybe you'll get away with it. But if you get someone behind the desk at a major place and you tell them to color photocopy something of this nature, they'll tell you they've been sent copyright infringement notices from the government, which means it's not yours. As it would say in the passports that are issued, and the ones in Canada says it's the property of Canada. It didn't say it's yours. Okay, so we're going to get down to the statement of birth record again. Statement of birth record. The beginning, it kind of looks like you got induced into there. The parents putting something down in there that was private, didn't belong to the state, which is your God-given name. Christ died for that. It's there. It's waiting for anybody, righteous or unrighteous, to accept. But it doesn't belong to the state. And that's why there's a legal case in Canada that I was involved in that clearly stated there was no provision or clause in the Canadian legal system for an individual to transfer, which means convey or make a lien. It says to anyone, whether to a person, a corporation, or trust. Well, the Registrar General's office is a person in law, a legal person. It is a corporation, and it is a trust. No document purporting to do so, or would look like it's purporting, or kind of like on the surface looking like it is transferring it, is valid. And it says notarizing a copy of it doesn't give it any more validity. So this document, therefore, if it looks like it's transferring my given name to the state, it's not, because they don't have any provision that would have required it. But the parents did it. And it was for the purpose of obtaining a birth certificate. Because without the given name on there, the state couldn't pull off this. They don't issue this without the given name into the registry record. Okay, they're not mind readers. So they just told you that the Canadian government states that it's non-transferable. So certainly it would have been very easy for the parents to put in the line where it said given name. If they're thinking they were registering their child, all they had to do to protect the privacy of the child, to let them make the decision at age of election, would have been to put non-transferable in there. Now, I don't think I'm going to have anybody come and arrest me on it, since it's already in a recorded transcript from a justice. We're going to do our best to try to get these documents up somehow, in some manner, that you'll have access to them. But in the meantime, it is a court transcript, and I can give you, as best I can, my word of those copies that I've shown on some of the videos are accurate and true, and the case really did happen. since I did know the individual that was involved. Now, do you understand why this is a frame? And the fact is that the English system of law, which Canada follows, is an accusatory system of law, and Satan is called the accuser of the brethren. Therefore, he puts an accusatory name over your head, and then he tries to get your name induced into it so that you'd believe it's yours, and then you trespass on it, and then you'd simply pay a fee under fee simple for its use. So, of course, you're framed. But it's interesting that the office seal is outside the frame. They don't want to get involved in it, so they stay outside the frame. So this document holds no validity, and that's why they don't seal it, because your fate is not sealed yet. Because a child cannot enter a contract, nor could they basically have to validate a contract or guarantor a contract. They can't contract. So now, when you're dealing with the birth certificate, that's a whole new ballgame. Because this one doesn't say given name or surname, and it's done deliberately at that because they didn't cross the line. It's just a make-believe false judgment certificate, bond, and they're just hoping that at age of election, you're going to take it over, and if you take over someone else's debt, you're on the hook for it, and then you become the hooker. So welcome to the prostitution ring of whordom in the world of Babylon. So if their signature is on it and not yours, why are you signing it? This is a very, very important question. If they're the signing authorities on it, why did you take this instrument that you would need to use if you were going to go anywhere in their legal system and do anything? Why did you go and surmise that you needed to put your signature and picture on something? Why did you basically open up a bank account and put your signature down? That's ridiculous. You just did an adverse hostile takeover. They were the signing authorities on it, so that's the ones that should have been on it. I'm sure everything in the banking world would have worked a lot better if you had stuck their signature down than yours and their seal. So, could I be possibly in left field on this? Let's go quickly to the definition of signature out of Black's Law, 4th edition. Black's Law, 4th edition. Signature, the act of putting down a man's name at the end of an instrument to attest its validity, the name thus written. A signature may be written by hand, printed, stamped, typewritten, engraved, photographed, or cut from one instrument and attached to another, and a signature lithographed on the instrument by a party is sufficient for the purpose of signing it, it being immaterial with what kind of instrument a signature is made. And it goes into, it says, and whatever mark, symbol, or device one may choose to employ as representative of himself is sufficient. Then it goes into, it says, the signature to a deed may be made either by the grantor affixing his own signature, or by adopting one written for him, or by making his mark or impressing some other sign or symbol on the paper by which the signature, though written by another for him, may be identified. So they never said you had to put your signature down. That instrument's already got a signature already pre-written. Of course, they're the ones that committed the inducement to enter into a fraud or a fiction, so therefore he who commits the tort has to bring the remedy. So they did have the relief, and they said, fine, we'll seal the deal with our seal. That's why in the Vital Statistics Act, Section 7 of the Ontario Vital Statistics, that deals with the governance of the birth certificate, says that you could reproduce the seal of that office in any manner. They didn't say for what purpose, because they gave you relief. Because the seal under the secretary, that's really the under the Great Seal, and therefore it's actually having the king's seal or authority on it. But when you took it over, well, hey, why would the king come to your aid when you want to take his property in the legal sense and use it for your own private gain or pecuniary interest? That's just called embezzlement and peculation. So if you want to rob the public and take those funds and use them privately, you can go ahead. That's why they have you take your picture and your signature on the driver's license for trafficking in it. This is not rocket science, brothers, but we're going to need to definitely start changing our ways if we want out, because you can't be involved in the way you are. So simply put, you're not the signing authority on that instrument, and that is the end of the whole debate.